Hey Mel, how's it going?
It's going good. How are you?
You know, I've had kind of a solo weekend. Things were kind of cool, really low key. It's raining over here pretty good.
Oh, good.
Yep. It's dark.
I,
About to
I, I
run
would.
into daylight savings time or whatever. Too.
Oh, yeah. It is pretty dark. Yeah, during the summer, this time well, it's starting later, but yeah. I was about to say during the summer, this time it was lighter out, and then I remembered that we starting later than usual.
Oh yeah, that's true. We are starting a
Yeah.
lot later. So we are looking at episode 7 of season 5. It is called Secrets of the Soul. And I gotta tell you, this is not my favorite episode. I get what they're trying to do, and I understand what they're saying, but I feel like they've said something like this similarly before in season 1 with the same, well, not the same people, but it was definitely surrounding Dr. Franklin.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Dr. Franklin gets some interesting philosophies, and he usually gets the somewhat racial philosophies,
Oh,
coincidentally, maybe.
yeah.
So-
He gets the racial philosophies. He gets to watch species die. And then this episode kind of combines it all, where we also hear about the religious challenges to a species. Because remember, he watched that little boy get murdered by his parents due to like their religious beliefs.
yeah.
Yeah, this one is a little bit different, but I think it does drive home that like religion can be used in that way.
hmm
But we'll get there. What would you say was the big message of this episode?
The them versus us aspect kind of backfires. And both groups, we saw the telepaths and another alien species hide things and see themselves as not really accepted because of something that they either had no choice in, that they both had no choice in, but they're not like being responsible about it.
Yeah, there are two groups that are ultimately dealing with consequences to things that they didn't make choices about, at least today. With the telepaths, we'll talk about that, but with the Hyach, the telepaths, and the way that they're all viewed is based on the way that other people sees them from the outside, but they don't know what the causes internally are. And the Hyach actually make an argument that really pissed me off, because at the end, and we'll probably dig into it a little bit more at the end, but at the end they're like, how are you going to be mad at us for decisions that we didn't make, decisions that our species made thousands of years ago? And it's kind of like, yeah, but you still a piece of shit.
Yeah,
Y'all
it's
been
like,
acting like this the whole couple days that Franklin has been working with y'all. You know what I mean? So
yeah, and
yeah,
it's the not owning up to it. Like, even if you did something, even those things that you've done in your past, you should learn from them and not hide them. It's different, like if you needed to realize that what you did was wrong, but they knew that they did something wrong and did not, they knew that their ancestors did something wrong and didn't try to learn from it. They just swept it under the rug, and
yep.
they put more effort into hiding it than they do actually dealing with the issue that's in front of them. They could have been like, "Hey, our past was like this. We need some help."
Right. And instead of actually looking for help, they were trying to like stifle the truth the entire time. I don't blame Franklin's response to them.
No,
All
one,
right.
he can't him by themselves, by himself. Like,
Right. Exactly.
what am I supposed to do about that?
Well, we'll talk about that shortly. So let's jump into it. The episode opens up and we get like that serious pensive music that lets you know that this is going to be a sad episode. And Franklin is messing around doing his research, checking out new species, diseases. Remember his job that he got with the Alliance. They're like, hey, you want to travel a little bit? We're going to help you look up some diseases for different species. That hippie shit that you was on when you was in high school or college. Of course, if they want to make a disgusting / funny point, they pick their favorite alien, the Pakmara, which, I mean, I know we've talked about the Pakmara, and I'm sure that fans know what they look like, but I just want to highlight that they do look like some cosmic horror, Lovecraftian type of species, and I guess they kind of like let you imagine the way that they eat because they are carrion eaters. They can't eat anything that hasn't been dead for 5 days, but they have these tentacles that hang from their heads? Question mark. We don't see them eat, and we don't see what happens with this one, but we can imagine things, and the imagination makes it pretty gross. And the whole thing is Franklin is doing his new job, and he has the Pakmarayan saying like, hey, you guys are pretty much able to eat anything. Y'all come in contact with a lot of different species diseases, and your digestion makes you resilient. So we want to kind of study that. And the Pakmara is like, yeah, we're the children of God. What I think was funny is the voice of the translator that they use. It sounds really robotic and mechanical. So, and that's kind of cool. I think I prefer that than the Star Trek translators where they just talk. Um,
Oh yeah,
yeah,
because and it kind of makes sense that they wouldn't need the robot voice to speak for them, because I
yeah,
don't think their face and mouth and everything is capable of making the sounds that we make. Kind of like where we had the insect alien before, and also adding that the Potmara seems to be the opposite of the other species that we're dealing with. Like they survive everything, they're everywhere, they can eat anything, and this other species, they're just doomed.
yeah. Oh yeah. And remember in the past, everybody is kind of like they leave the Pakmara alone. They're just like, we don't want to deal with y'all. So he basically gives the Pakmara this non biological thing to drink to track his digestion, and this is supposed to help with his breakthrough. But it turns out the Pakmara doesn't like it. It doesn't agree with him. He vomits it all over the window, and you know, nice little funny mark. The sound that they made for his stomach was gross too. Yeah, he emptied out that altogether. So then we switch to Zach. So what's happening in customs? Zach is trying to stop a lot more of the new telepaths who are arriving on the station, and it's a lot of them. They don't have proper documentation, but they're complaining because they say like, "Hey, this is supposed to be where we're allowed to go. We got this treaty from Captain Sheridan. His promise is supposed to cover everything." And Zach is frustrated. He's like, well, how many of y'all is it supposed to be? I didn't know it was gonna be like all of y'all. And Byron, him and Lyta, they step in and they're trying to tell Zach like, hey, chill out. You guys made a promise. We're fulfilling the promise. And Zach is like, oh well, all right, cool, whatever. But this is gonna be a problem. This is setting up some things that'll happen later in the episode. But with Zach's attitude, which yeah, he has a nice little shorter haircut. Bravo, Zach. Uh, there's also a new telepath who enters the station, and he gets to show off his gift, which is telekinesis. And he moves this. It looks like a metal ball around.
Yeah.
And there is something that you pointed out when we were just doing our pre-episode reps. The episode seems a little culty. This does come across as being pretty culty because the kid is super excited to show Byron his gift, like his new abilities. It makes me think of a lot of different things. Okay, the telepaths they are not just asylum seekers. They're putting together a movement, and this is because we know the mundanes, as they call them, the humans. They expect that there's going to be some sort of confrontation. They call it a war. And I think that's where J. Michael Straczynski wants to push this. And Byron is not, like, throughout this whole episode, yes, he's going to be a leader. He's not trying to rally the troops. you know, he's trying to be more of a philosophical leader. And I think that more falls in line with what your prediction as far as like is feeling culty. And also Byron, just the way he talks it's a little cult leaderish.
Yeah, he's got the quiet, charismatic leader.
Yeah.
Some cults. There was one in, I think, the late '90s in Japan, where the leader wasn't all that like showy,
Yeah.
but he was expressive with his calm demeanor, his knowledge, his impression of knowledge, and what he could do. And people liked impressing him, which is what we saw with this little scene where he was like so excited. Let me show you what I could do,
Yeah. Yeah.
because I need his approval.
Yeah.
And one thing that we do with the charismatic leaders of cults, we have to make sure that we do the things that they would like.
Yeah. They start to build this cult of personality, and it is sometimes it's the cult leader or the personality themselves that do it, or sometimes they're so charismatic they inspire people to do it without telling them to do it. And that comes across like what's happening with Byron. He's not telling them like, "Hey, y'all, I'm the dude." He's just like, "No, we're gonna have our own nation. We're gonna be free." And people are like, "Oh my God, Byron, you're such an amazing person." Oh,
That sounds like right what's happening now in real life, where someone is telling people, "Hey, we can have this and we can have that, and it's going to be great," and people are like, "Yeah,
yeah. It's decidedly more stupid in real life.
yeah,
But but I don't know. Maybe some of us are different where we're just like, this seems like fiction, so why would it be real? But then there are people who have never had that feeling of being on the winning team ever. It kind of reminds me of that movie Grown Ups with Adam Sandler and his friends. uh, at the end, they play in a basketball game, and his guys, they're just like whooping this team, and he realizes like, oh man, these guys, they've never been winners; they've been losers their entire lives. We can let them win this one basketball game, and they do. And it's just like, God, like your whole life is around this sense of feeling like you're a winner in this game that's rigged. Yes, there are some people who are like, "Oh, I'm gonna do the right thing and let you guys feel like winners." But at the end of the day, it's like it's all fake. It's dumb.
yeah." And then, like, I think in real life, a lot of people think that they're the losers when they're not, and they have this persecution complex.
Complex, yes.
Yeah, I said the word wrong, but
You know,
uh,
no, you're right. It's a persecution complex where they have to appear to be the losers. They have to
yeah,
appear to be the ones that are being oppressed, and it's like literally the entire like the laws are shaped for you. History is shaped in your favor. You're not the loser here. You just feel like that you're a loser because not everybody likes you, and you're not entitled to people liking you, especially if you're an asshole. Like,
and especially the indoctrination.
yeah,
Like a lot of their culture is around we're special because we're persecuted. When you're basically just told this your entire life and you haven't
yeah.
actually experienced it, every little bit of discomfort feels like persecution.
Yeah. It's not even they're not even being persecuted. It's just like, hey, you should keep that stuff to yourself. That's not persecution. That's just like chill. That's just some friendly advice.
I think the example of that was the rapture that was supposed to happen last
Oh
month.
God, yeah.
And they were saying that the Christians that were quoting the Bible, stating that no man, nor the angels, not even the Son of God, would know the day or time that the God is coming back, or the end of days is going to come. And all of the people who truly believe in the rapture, like they're mocking and scoffing us, and they told us that we were going to be persecuted, and they're like, and I'm like, they're quoting the Bible that you got this from, that you didn't actually get this from, but
Yeah.
you did mental gymnastics to get to. Yeah,
Mm,
they're literally going by the same book that you're supposed to be interpreting, and you're like, they're scoffing us by quoting us the book that we're going by.
right. Yeah. All of that's gonna come into play. Okay, so really quickly, we get a scene where Zach is confronting Lita and he's like, "Hey, I don't like you hanging around Byron. I think he's a bad influence, he's gonna get you hurt." And she's all like, "Yo, you need to chill out. Byron's cool with me." And he's like, "I don't know, these telepaths." And she goes, "Look, I like what he's doing. I believe in what he's saying. Also, just think about it. Whenever y'all needed me for anything, I mean, I fought in the Shadow War, and how did y'all repay me? Y'all tried to kick me out of my quarters and put me in smaller quarters because I couldn't pay for it. And then y'all needed me to fight in the Civil War. I put my life on the line for all of y'all. And what do I get? Not a thank you, not a good job, Lyta. It was just kind of like, oh yeah, we're done. And just they're not appreciating her. She explains like Byron gives her a sense of dignity, and she really believes in him. And
That's what cult leaders do.
yeah, and Zach is really Zach. Okay, there was something that happened in this scene that made me really like pay attention because he's like, I don't like you hanging around him. You need to stop seeing him. And she's like, oh, you've been spying on me. And he's like, no, that's not it. It's just, it's not hard to tell that you like this dude. And I think what they're hinting at is she assumes that Zach is expressing some romantic feelings towards her. I think he's assuming she's feeling romantic feelings towards Byron. All of this comes across as subtext. So I'm not 100% sure. What is also subtext is the way that Zach has interacted with Lyta for the past 2 seasons. He was the one that reached out to her to help her unpack and set up her apartment. He's the one that broke the news to her, like, hey, we need to move you to a smaller space. He's the one that's always there when he's kind of like there to blunt the blow of them treating her badly. And he's like, we need to treat her good. And so whatever feelings he's developing for her, he's like, I feel like I need to look out for you. And I can't put my finger on it, but this Byron dude is bad trouble. And she is like, I think I get it. I think I get it. You're jealous, aren't you?
Yeah.
And I'm not 100% sure if that's what the case is. Maybe there is some romantic jealousy. Maybe it's him really trying to be a friend and it's like, no, you need to stay out of trouble because the type of person Byron is going to attract a lot of trouble. And here's the thing, Zach is the trouble. Zach is the trouble. It's going to it happens in a couple of scenes, but it causes a big issue for the episode. So we see Byron and his group of telepaths. They're confronted by this gang down below, and they're pissed off. And what I thought about this was pretty interesting because they're all in down below. The gang, they're a group of poor people who are wanting to fight the telepaths, who are also a group of poor people. And we'll just kind of put that in our back pocket about how the poor versus the poor is a thing on Babylon 5. Byron, he demonstrates nonviolence, and he's all like, hey, y'all can chill out. And the gang leader is insistent, and Byron goes, oh, well, just hit me. And the dude does. He just balls up his fist, hits him in the mouth. And Byron's like, all right, do it again. And the dude hits him again, and he keeps hitting him. And then the dude just like all of his anger, his fervor, and all that stuff just like melted away. And he was so confused. He was just like, this is kind of not cool anymore. And then he leaves. He tells this gang, like, let's get out of here. Byron's face is busted up. He's bleeding from the mouth. He's bruised. They take him up to Med Lab, and they clean him up. We'll talk about that in a minute. Up in Med Lab. No. It's not in Med Lab. I don't know where this is. It's in one of those quarters. Franklin is meeting with one of the ambassadors, Miziri Tal, and her attaché Kieran. They are of the Hyach people, and they are there to exchange medical information. And Kieran, she questions Franklin's willingness to protect the information, even if it costs his life. And then Franklin, of course, being the greatest human in the whole galaxy, is like, yeah, sure, of course. He talks about how he would protect it and all of that. And there was a couple of things that came out here where they talk about that the society, the Hyach society, is a gerontocracy. Do you know what that means?
No, I do not.
So their power structure, their government power structure is around old people. So the older you are, the more power you have.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Geriatric. Okay. Yeah, I'm making the connection now.
Yeah. And they do mention about like the information does come from the oldest people that are alive, and I thought that was kind of interesting. It's hard to tell the age of these people because they just the alien makeup just looks awful. They look terrible.
They look like reverse Ferengi.
Oh yeah, yeah, they do look like Ferengi kind of without the ears, just giant bulbous heads. And so their whole thing is they keep the medical information about the species a super secret. It's a super duper secret. After Franklin promises that he's going to keep it a secret, he leaves, and Kieran and Missouri, they're having a conversation, and Kieran is like expressing reservations about Franklin's research, and it could be a big problem. So they may have to kill him if their secret gets out. So here we are at the beginning of the episode. It's like these new aliens, and they have a deep secret, and they need to kill Franklin to keep that secret. All right. So that's in our back pocket for a second. But by the way, like, how come Franklin is always in the middle of everybody's business like this?
Because he's messing with their genetics.
Yeah.
Their medical history is really important to them.
Yeah.
Apparently. You can find out a lot of your body keeps score. You can find out a lot about someone from their genetic makeup, their medical history.
Yeah. Yeah. I just find it interesting because they always pick Franklin Franklin is the one that witnesses alien species die, people murdering their kids, ethical issues around medicine.
Yeah. And Franklin has the most discipline, ironically, even though he's not a soldier. Everyone else is ready to shoot, ready to go into a fight. And
I
he's
get
the
it.
only who really contemplates and questions and investigates. Like, the officer should,
Yeah.
the detective should do. He
Yeah.
actually does that. So he's going to actually end up getting that information. Where else, like, if Sheridan or, what's his name, the first captain had got a hold of it, they'd be ready to, they'd run in there with a gun, be like, hey, why are you not telling me?
Right. They're going there by themselves. um, I guess it's also because of Franklin's code of ethics that he demonstrates pretty much consistently throughout the show. And instead of him being like a character that has to do a lot of change, he's the one that shows a lot of empathy,
Mhm.
and kind of exemplifies this code of ethics at like the highest level, because he was the one that had to set up the telepaths that were rescued from the shadows, but had to smuggle them to get blown up. It was him because it conflicted directly with his ethics, and he was like, with enough time, we could probably figure this out, but we ain't got no time, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so we switch and we see that Lyta is hanging out with Byron, tending to his wounds, and she's all like, "Hey, why are you down here by yourself? How come nobody has seen you?" And he goes, "Because the people down here have the sense to know that I want to be left alone in times like this." I was like, "Dang, dude, he he really was that." I like that. I like that line. He's just letting her know, no sugarcoating. Like, leave me the fuck alone. um, and
It's like we all understand him.
mm-hmm,
That's also like how do we know the inner workings of how you live?
yeah.
Everybody knows the inner workings of how you want to live.
Yeah. And also we get a good explanation of his code of ethics as well. Because Lita's all like, don't you ever just get mad and angry? Don't you want to fight? And he's like, well, no, violence is not our way. That's their way. It's the way of the mundanes. They rule things by fear and tyranny. We don't. And he says a couple of things that I thought was great. He goes, I know the truth. No tyranny has ever lasted. And I'm thinking, like, my ears are perking up. I'm like, he knows history. He goes, violence is their way. Even the Psi Corps has adopted their way. But here's the thing: they're being controlled by them because they're afraid what would happen. So Psychor is afraid of Earth. Earth is afraid of Psychor and the telepaths. And the truth is, if telepaths do fight back, they would be inviting a very violent response. And he explained, why build a foundation that would never last? Why should we use the same tools of violence that they use? And so remember how I was talking about he was Magneto? He's not Magneto. He's probably like a Gandhi or something like that now.
Now he's doing an Xavier.
Yeah, kind of an Xavier. Peaceful. I don't think Byron believes in peaceful coexistence, but I think he believes in not resorting to violence.
Yeah.
He's trying to get away. He's trying to get his own nation. If we wanted to build a parallel, he's kind of like the Marcus Garvey slash
So,
Gandhi of this movement.
yeah.
Yeah.
But what's
Um.
the? Oh, I mean, there is some them versus us in Pan Africanism.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. There is. There's a lot of. There's a lot there. But it's in this situation with Byron, it's also based on like material conditions. It's like you don't get Pan Africanism out of nowhere. You get
Right.
it from colonialism and persecution in the world. So people are like, "Hey, leave us alone." So Byron he reiterates his belief in nonviolence, and he kisses Lyta. So now they are expressing their romantic connection to it towards each other. And Lyta, she also admits that she doesn't feel like she belongs to Byron's group. And she kind of flashes on him too. She's like, don't you want to like go and beat these guys? Aren't you angry with the stuff that they're doing to you? And he's like, you remind me, and I forgot the name I forgot the acronym, but basically he described her as kind of like, she flashes on people. She expresses her anger and she be going off on people. And she does. She blowing up stuff with her brain. And as their conversation begins to wind down, Byron asks her to stay the night. And the other telepaths, they really like her too. So they all embrace her. We switch and we see that Kieran is delivering the Hyach medical files to Franklin. And Franklin is messing around. He's like, he notices that the files only cover 800 years and there's 7,000 year history. He's asking all these questions, and this is where we learn why there are some disparages, and that's because that's what the oldest person gave him. I'm sorry, this is all we got. He deduces that the Hyach are hiding something. He's having his conversation with his AI computer, trying to figure out what is it that what are they hiding? Is there anything else out there? And it's like, no, you can't find nothing. And he's kind of like, something's wrong. I can
Yeah.
smell it.
Yeah. Like you didn't get to be Space Baron and Space Baron. That's not the right word. Space capable and only have 800 years worth of history.
Right, exactly. So there's some gaps missing, and it's, why would they be interested in hiding their history? Some pretty interesting mystery that is starting to develop here. So we quickly switch and we see that the telepath that was messing around with the telekinesis, his name is Peter. He is then down below, and he's gonna go with the other telepaths, but there's too many of them on the elevator. So he's like, I'll catch up with y'all down below. No big deal. He turns around, runs into a gang. Same gang that was trying to beat him up earlier. But now he's by himself. And so he gets thrown around, he gets knocked down. And instead of him yelling for help or doing anything, he starts to use his telekinesis and starts throwing stuff like wrenches and pipes and stuff at these guys. And they're all pissed off, like, okay, you freak. They're doing the Friends of Humanity thing. And they viciously beat this dude. It is terrible. And I'm going to share my view. I hate seeing this. This is what really frustrates me. So the telepaths are supposed to have a particular ability that gives them an advantage over humans, but on the other end, they're often depicted as people with neurological differences and disabilities.
Yeah. But I noticed that was on the first scene when he was showing him uh the lifting up the ball. The
Yeah,
way that he's speaking and his movements was very reminiscent of someone on the autism spectrum.
right. And then watching him getting beat and trying to defend himself, it's like, I mean, just the concept of it really just made me super sad. Like I hate seeing
It
that.
also it also feeds into the whole uh genetics aspect of it, where the name of Asperger's came around because they were sorting those
Mm,
kids out in order to either use them or get rid of them, the same way the telepaths are being used.
yeah,
Like, if you're not useful to us, the children who were diagnosed with Asperger's were used as assistants to further experiment on other kids. And a lot of them did not survive those experiments.
yeah,
And we get that same parallel with the telepaths, where they have to take the sleepers that will often will take their lives from them, even if they don't necessarily die. They're not themselves anymore. It's almost like a death. And we know that Ivanova's mom actually did take her life. So there's a lot of parallels to their condition in autism. Plus, in some ways, autism is seen as a gift neurologically, because we can do things that normal people can't do. Oh,
mm-hmm, yeah,
and it's all mental. Like, we sort through information differently, probably more efficiently, and that is something that a lot of insecure people are very afraid of, or they show their insecurities when we can
yeah,
easily take information and put it together where they just can't. And instead of like seeing it as like seeing you as someone, a part of your community that can be helpful, they lash out.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
annoying. That's horrible.
And I'm sorry to extend this sidebar, but I wanted to add this part too because of the internet and people are just awful. Why is it when people see people with differences, they always seem to champion the cause of furthering the species? What I mean is, people will argue eugenicist arguments and ideals. Like, in order for humans to survive, we need to have this type of gene pool and we need to make sure that we have this type of birth rate, and no other species would do this and no other species would do that, and we need to make sure that we survive. It's like, bro, it's like 8 billion of us. We've survived. We will be here for a while unless we
With,
fuck some shit up. Like, humans are
with
gonna
one
be here.
with 1/8 of our population, we will still survive.
Yeah,
Like, we're fine.
we're fine.
At 8 billion people, even if our birth rates went down simply because people aren't dying as easily, it
Right,
means
right, right.
we will survive. Like, the survival rate is actually what um, zoologists look for in helping a species get out of being endangered. We
Right.
don't have that problem.
Right. We don't have the problem. Like, we all right. We have survived. We are thriving. We're
We are
doing great.
surviving so much we're destroying the planet. Oh,
Yeah, yeah,
we are actually we're actually an invasive species on this planet.
yeah,
Invasive species on this planet. Us continue needing to continue is I feel like it simply comes from doctrine that is irrational, that's not scientific. Oh,
yeah. Industrialism. It's industrialism being supported by certain fundamentalist beliefs, and it's like, when humans, especially when it comes to Western society, when humans decided that we were different from nature, that's when we started to destroy nature.
yeah.
And that's what's going to cause us harm, not us taking care of people who are differently abled or marginalized. It's us not taking care of our environment. All right, we can move on.
Oh, one little side note: N.K. Jemisin, Emergency Skin, is a short story that she wrote. I suggest it. I always suggest it if you want to look
Okay.
into a speculative idea of what the world would look like without supremacy.
Ooh, okay. Awesome. I'm going to check that out. So they take Peter to med lab. He's being treated. Byron is there, and he's very worried about what's going on with Peter. He says that Peter was attacked by one of you, and he's talking to Franklin like he's like one of you, mundane, normal humans. And you know what? I don't like. He has the right perspective. Like, one of y'all did this to us, and you're afraid. It's hard to make a difference between an individual and a population when so many people in that population are harming you, you know?
Yeah.
So it's hard. Peter briefly regains consciousness and throws a table using telekinesis, and he's expressing that he's frustrated. Byron is trying to say, like, we need to take care of this because I don't want my people to do something that they will regret. Meanwhile, in down below, his followers, they do track down that gang member and they chase him. And this offers something interesting in the perspective because they're not beating him up. What they're doing, they're projecting an image and feeling of him being on fire. So they're using their telepathy and they are torturing him with the idea of him being burned. Byron shows up and he's trying to stop them. He's like, no, this is not our way. This is not how we do it. And they are not paying attention to him at all.
Like, clearly this is their way. Oh.
Right. He finally gets through to them. He's like, no, we need to stop. You need to let it go. Let it go. As soon as they let the image go, the dude kind of passes out. And Byron is like, stooping over him to see if he's still alive. As soon as he stoops over him, Zach Allen pops out of nowhere. Ha ha! Freeze! You're under arrest. The way he does it is so funny. He like jumps from behind a beam and he's like, ha! I got you. Yeah. And Byron's like, I didn't do anything. Like, well, he's like, whatever. Seems like a likely story. And Zach immediately arrests him and puts him in the brig. And it is so, like, it's a frustrating part of the story because we know Zach isn't doing it out of, like, being malicious, but also he's probably like, I need to do something to get Byron out of the picture too. Mm-hmm. You know? So, and Byron is frustrated because he's like, look, my people need me to talk to them because I don't know what they're going to do. And security is ignoring him. So Franklin, he's going through his files and he's trying to figure out what's going on with the Hyach. And he searches through some of the other alien files to figure out, like, okay, who has come in contact with the Hyach. And he gets a recording of a Drazi pilot. And once again, I love this. He initiates a translation program to actually understand what the Drazi is saying. Now, the Drazi alien language sounds really stupid. It sounded like something they made up that afternoon. But I'm going to go with it because, like, I'm like, cool, they're thinking about this at least.
Yeah.
And the Drazi mentions something called the Hyach Do. And that piques Franklin's interest. He's like, wait a minute, the Hyach Do, that sounds like the people I'm looking at, but a little different. And basically what the Drazi pilot says is like he encounters a Hyach Do. The Hyach Do requested transport and he was turned down because, hey, the contract says we are not supposed to do this. So the Drazi had a contract with the Hyach and he's not supposed to pick up the Hyach Do. So Franklin is like, okay, so what is this? What's this Hyach Do? So he does some more searches for Hyach Do, and that search is captured by Kieran. Franklin confronts Ambassador Kieran about the Hyach genocide of the Hyach Do, and this is where we get the truth about what's going on. So the revelation is the Hyach and the Hyach Do are parallel species on their planet, much like humans and Neanderthals, etc. They're developing and evolving at the same time. But the problem is the Hyach and the Hyach Do have a common genetic trait that they both need. And when he confronts Kieran about it, that's when they reveal the truth. It's like, okay, yeah, we tolerated them and, you know, they had their own communities, but after a while they were seen as kind of like undesirable. And the first thing that they had was religious laws that prevented cross marriages.
Hmm.
And then they started to add more and more laws to the point where they started to like block them out and then just wipe them out. And they actively committed a genocide to murder the Hyach. And they found out too late that they needed the Hyach because there was a missing genetic link that would have allowed the Hyach to continue to propagate as a species. But since they got rid of the Hyach, their species birth rates began to drop drastically over the decades.
Yeah.
And so
And that,
now their species is on track to extinction, and it's their own fault. So with that, this is the part that I thought was frustrating to deal with, because the ambassador was asking Franklin to help, like, hey, can you help us figure this out? And Franklin is like, what? No, you guys committed a genocide. I cannot help you. Like, I'm ethically barred from helping you. And they're like, oh, so you're going to punish us, the people who are alive right now, for the actions of people who are dead, our ancestors? And he's kind of like, yeah. Yeah. Like, there's nothing that I can do, actually. Like, this is why it bothers me. When we discuss racial disparity, whether it's when it comes to income disparity, ownership of property, etc., all of those things, there's always this argument like, oh, you're going to punish me for something that happened 150 years ago? Neither one of us were alive. And it's like, yeah, but the consequences of those actions still affect me negatively, and they don't affect you at all. If they do
yeah.
affect you, they affect you more in a more positive way. And we still have many of those laws on the books. And then there's still like the social taboos that are in place that prevent like actual social cohesion. And then we have capitalism that relies on those disparities. Like,
Yeah. And for some of those things that they're hiding, that that they deny, are
oh, yeah.
actually harming them in ways that they don't recognize.
Yes.
And like maybe if they recognize that it was just as harmful to them, they would like have some empathy, even though that would neglect to the point of empathy.
Yeah. But it's kind of interesting because the show is making a prediction here, because the Hayek, they when they discovered too late that there was this genetic link that they needed, but their hatred outweighed their desire to even look, to the point that they killed themselves so they could hate another group of people. In 2025, we're kind of seeing that play out with some folks. They want to hate more than they want to live.
Yeah.
So they'd rather deal with oppression and like military dictatorship rather than like have actual freedom, because they'd rather be hateful.
Yeah.
And what it does, it allows us to see what Michael Straczynski at the time was thinking. Like, I mean, you see it as punishing you for something that you didn't do, but it's like it's a consequence of those that went before you. If you feel like it's punishment, good, because you were punished by your ancestors.
Right. And like also we kind of discussed that if they had came out honestly about it, we would maybe Steven, he would have been a little more empathetic. He's like, hey, our past was horrible. They did this.
Yep.
Oh,
And
he
they
if they were
they
honest, it was the fact that they went through they were about to kill him to keep the
yes,
secret.
right.
That's where you went wrong. It's not that we're punishing you for what they did. We're punishing you for supporting what they did, for hiding what they did, for not owning up to your culture.
Yep. Because they lied, they condoned that genocide. And we have the same thing going on here in the United States. The genocide of the Native Americans that were here, 100 million deaths due to colonization. ethnic cleansing, these purchases, etc. And the whole thing, oh God, when people's like, oh yeah, they were conquered. It's like by people who they were conquered by people that they didn't hate.
Right. The idea of conquering being a reason for taking over something.
Right,
Like just to think that it's okay to use your might against someone else simply because you have it is
right.
illogical.
Yeah, yeah. There's no logic behind it, and then they'll be like, oh well, God this and Western culture that, and it's like, no, all of that is unjustifiable. There's no grounding for it. There's no logic for it. It is deplorable, and the society that is connected to that will fall, and when it falls, is going to be a great fall that the whole world celebrates.
Yeah, I mean, we've already seen those ideas fail before. Like, people want to keep bringing up Rome falling. Like, yeah, y'all keep the same mess. Like,
Yeah,
thinking that you're gonna get it better this time. It's irrational to think that might outside of my personal opinion, the scientific pursuit. Like, if your strength was in scientific pursuit, we could all thrive. But it's not. It's about conquering and destroying. I kind of get annoyed when people are like, "Well, this country was built by these people," and I'm like, "No, you kind of destroyed it. We live in destruction. We live."
yeah, yeah. So we have that we have that quote unquote secret revealed, and I rock with the way that Franklin deals with it. He's like, yeah, sorry, we're not gonna help. Um, we switch back to Byron, and this is probably largely why I think the episode is not that great. So Byron goes to jail, and then they just let him out, right? Like, and he's very frustrated because a mundane man confirms Byron was trying to help him. The guy that thought he was being set on fire, and they're like, okay, all right, whatever. Zach informs Byron that the man worked for Carl Townsend, whose body was found, and that they were hassling Byron's group earlier, and now that person was attacked. Some of those people have been attacked and killed. And Byron, like when he was in jail the whole time, he was like, hey, you guys gotta let me go so I can talk to my people so we can kind of like not have problems. So that shows while he was in jail, they were down there murking folks. And he was right. And he was like, look, Zach, if I wasn't stuck in your brig this whole time, I could have stopped all these dead bodies. But no, you had to be the hero. So Zach is just all frustrated about it. Byron does blame himself for the violence because he's like, I could have done more.
That scene where he's in the cell looking up and perceiving what his people are doing reminded me of Volcano High when character was in jail and he looks up and through the cage and he's like, murder was the case that they gave me.
Oh my God. Yep. He's with Lyta. He goes with her. They return to their compounding down below. Again, this is where we get those culty vibes because there's not any privacy down there. They're all just kind of like communal living, which that's a thing that's legit. Okay. Communal living is a legit thing as long as it's not a cult. So Lyta is warning Byron about different things. And they're having a romantic moment, right? And they're about to, two telepaths are about to make love, and Lyta's like, okay, I need you to know something. I worked for the Vorlons and they changed me, and I don't know everything that they did, and it's been a long time that I've been with someone since the Vorlons changed me, so it might backfire on you. And Byron is like, I don't care, we'll figure it out when we get there. So they start their thing, and then you see these heads pop up in the background, and it's like, oh, they're kind of like in the same room with all the other telepaths. So it's not just that they see what they're doing, but they also see in their minds. When telepaths make love, I think this was shared in season 1 or 2 with Talia. When telepaths make love, they connect mentally as like very strongly with their telepathic powers. And because that's happening, Byron is being shown by Lyta what the Vorlons did. Not just what they did to her, because they changed her, but what they did in general. This is where we learn the truth. It's not that the Vorlons altered telepaths in humanity. The Vorlons altered humans to have telepaths. And the reason why there is this population is because the Vorlons wanted to use them against the shadows. So they, no matter what, they were introduced into the human population as pawns. And
Yeah.
all of the telepaths can see this, and they are all terrified. And when you look back at Lita's eyes, her eyes are black. The way they're black in the same way that the Vorlons uh, altered her powers. So she's using like a much stronger version of her telepathy to like transmit this story. And what we see is babies, like fetuses in water tanks, and with whatever it is that the Vorlons did to them to change them, and it it horrifies everyone that's connected. And I feel sorry for Lyta. I feel sorry for her because the first time that she gets to make love to somebody, and it is a horrifying experience, not just to her, but to like the 30 people in that same room with her.
Yeah. And they also slightly kind of get to experience what she's experiencing because she's projecting it on everybody,
Yeah.
which is just like you inadvertently introduce all these people into your mind.
Yeah. And after that, we get to hear Byron respond to it. He is pissed off. He's like, I cannot believe this. Like the Vorlons, I thought, they just kind of messed around. No, they are the reason that we are here. Like we would have been normal. We would have had our normal lives if it wasn't for the Vorlons. And Lyta is like, yeah, but the Vorlons are gone now. There's nobody here to pay the price. And Byron is just like, no, you need to understand something. They created us to protect the other species. They're going to pay. They're the ones that's going to pay. Like, we've been here for everybody's benefit, and now everybody needs to be here for our benefit. And he demands that the Alliance acknowledges the telepath's role and grant them a hold world. He thinks that would be a good payment enough.
That's a fair payment, I think, because it sounds like he's like, well, we're gonna like start a war, but then he's like, yeah, we're going to get our own land and live away.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And Lita's like, well, what if they don't listen? And he's like, no, we're gonna make them listen. We're gonna make them listen. This ain't up for compromise. There's no negotiations. They giving us a homeworld. And then basically we see the episode end. But it is so wild to see like the way these stories kind of end up. We don't really get like great resolutions. Franklin is like, I'm not helping y'all. Y'all made y'all's bed. Y'all lay in it. Genetic degradation over the years, lower birth rate. You guys are going to die out. Your fault. My bad. The telepaths were altered by the Vorlons. They are demanding their own homeworld, and it's not a thing that we're going to negotiate. Like, y'all going to give it to us.
This kind of
So,
a bit of a parallel of the Vorlons doing what they
mhm.
did to them and just dipping.
Yeah, it's like a type of eugenics on both sides. Like the Vorlons created this new genetic strain in humans, and they're doing it for a specific, like a utilitarian reason. Also, because the Vorlons are cowards, by the way. They got all these superpowers, and they just like, oh, I don't want to get personally involved.
Yeah.
The Hyach, they wanted to eliminate this genetic strain in their species because they're cowards. Um, when they talked about how it started with religious laws, like marriage laws and whatnot, and then people couldn't be in the same cities, and then we just like hunted them down. I'm just like, yeah, y'all are cowards because how dare another species live its own life? You know what I mean?
Right.
And so in both of those cases, it's kind of like, yeah, eugenics. Um, we are kind of seeing this happen. Like, we got history in this country and just the way the Western powers act and what's going on now, with the different genocides that are happening in Africa and the Middle East. It's like it's out of fear and it's out of trying to hoard resources. It's all utilitarian where they just take lives and reduce them to numbers.
And if certain people weren't trying to destroy the planet all the time out of their idea of needing to have control over things, they wouldn't have a need to have to take over and take things that essentially only have value because you give them value.
Right.
Things like gold and diamonds and stuff. The only reason why they're worth anything is because people decided they should be worth anything, just like paper.
Right. So there we wrap up this episode. Like I said, not a great episode, but there's some really interesting gems that come out of it. And I think honestly they're just setting it up for Byron to have the turn that he needs to have for us to move towards a more militancy among the telepaths.
Mhm.
And then I guess creating a rift between Lyta and Zach. It kind of makes me sad, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, Zach is just like a normal guy, and so he's not gonna be really on Lita's side ideologically. He's just trying to look out for his friend, pretty much. So it's you know,
But he's
it's
only
more of a self-centered type of concern.
yeah, and he's only using his perspective in order to look out for her and not really considering her perspective, which she snapped on him about.
More than once. Yep.
I always like it when she stands up for herself because she's had so much crap done to her.
This woman done fought 2 wars, hung out with the underground resistance, had her brain fondled with by the Vorlons, almost murdered by the Vorlons. Yeah. Yeah. She needs a break. She needs people to
Oh,
understand and
a
hear her.
cult.
Yeah.
She broke away from a cult too.
She broke away from a cult. She
Yeah.
broke away from 2 cults. She got rid of her Psychor connection there.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Because she was running away from the cult from the Psychor before. Then they pulled
Mm-hmm.
her back in. Then she left it again. Like she's been through a lot.
Yeah. And you know, it's unfortunate that she has to freak everybody out, but like, yeah, she deserves a little bit of TLC time. Just a little bit.
I wonder if it was a conscious decision to make her to cast a redhead.
That's a good question. That actress, Patricia Talman, which what's funny? I follow her and Claudia Christian on Facebook. So a lot of their stuff pops up from time to time because, it's like if you've ever played in any of these sci-fi cult classics or some of these classic things like Star Trek, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, Babylon 5, etc., like, people want to remember you. Yeah, she's been in multiple Star Trek episodes. She's kind of like a mainstay in the sci-fi and horror genres.
Yeah.
So I mean, other than her being redhead, maybe they were just like, "Hey, you're good at this. let's find." Because wasn't the Talia character was blonde. Maybe they just was trying to throw around a different
Yeah. But like
right.
they were going a certain way with her. Like they introduced her as being like the quintessential psychor person. So
Yeah.
going with the whole aesthetic that the psychor and the mentality that the psychor had, her being thin, blonde, blue eyes, kind of went with that. And then with Talia just being treated like the way she is goes with the historical ways that people have treated people with red hair. Like you're just a
Yeah.
thing for us to use, or you're just like the stereotype was that they didn't have a soul, and and they
Oh
kind
yeah.
of treat her like she's not really a person, And then that's why I kind of thought about like maybe that when they went with this direction, they picked someone that had red hair because they kind of treat her like she's a thing, even though she's a person, and that's been a struggle in the past or probably current. Who knows if someone's still that ignorant? Um, but it was a huge stereotype for people with red hair
Yeah.
because they're so rare. I mean, they're not that rare, but they're pretty rare.
Yep.
So people with their racism and othering decided, well, because they look different, there's this big different aspect to them. We're going to make assumptions. This was during the time where like people who had kids with autism assumed that they were stolen by fairies, so they would just send their babies into the forest to go live with the fairies because the fairy stole their baby and gave them a changeling. So they were like, "Here, take your changeling back." So people saying that like, "Oh, all of a sudden we have all these autistic kids." I'm like, "No, we don't." So they, well, at least in Europe, they stopped sending them into the woods.
They need to stop getting their babies stolen. Okay. All right, let's get out of here. Thank y'all for joining us for this episode of Voices in Hyperspace. Be sure to follow us on all of your favorite streaming services. You can catch us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at Voices in Hyperspace. Be sure to like, follow, and share. Keep the conversations going. Share us all of your ideas and what you think of all the cool sci-fi things. I'm Legendary Black Lion. You can find me on Instagram and TikTok at Legendary Black Lion.
I'm Asylum, and you can find me at melsrebellion.com and on YouTube at Mels Rebellion and on TikTok at Smell Asylum.
All right. Until next time, we'll see you out there. Peace.